Good morning. So we'll start standing up this morning. And the theme for today's class is going to be refining our walk. Because it's a holistic activity, and it's one of the few things that we can get outside and do safely, and a great time of year to be refining that ability to walk freely. Excuse me, frog. So there's so many elements that make up our ability to walk well. So we need flexibility, and we need stability at the same time. And the stability comes from our core that we've been talking a lot about in the last weeks. And the resiliency, the flexibility comes more from our more superficial muscles, which we've also been working with all the time. And in addition to those two elements, we also need to have some sort of an internal lift and a spring, kind of a resiliency in our soft tissues that gives us this kind of bounce. So I'd like you to just start out by closing your eyes and getting a sense of yourself. A standing soma scan. So without any imposition of anything on yourself, any expectations of yourself. Take a moment to really tune in to how you're feeling in this moment. Physically, mentally, emotionally. Try to take in that whole spectrum of your experience in this moment. And then bring the awareness to your feet, and how are you interfacing with the stability of the earth? Do you have that really strong, stable connection between your feet and the earth? And we'll just rock forward and back a little bit. So you can really get a sense of, can you feel the center point of your heels? And then can you feel the balls of your feet equally, the inner and the outer? And then just have that gentle swaying motion. And can you relate that to walking? That nice, easy, rolling motion. And then can you let your arms also move? Just going with the flow of the movement. And is it difficult for you to move your arms and rock your feet at the same time? And then we'll come to a relative place of stillness, and maybe you could detect that the place where the movement of the upper body and the lower body comes together is right there at our somatic center. And that's always where we are working to refine that balance between stability and resiliency. So let's shake out the hands and the feet. And we've been talking about the domes of respiration, the diaphragmatic dome and the pelvic floor dome. And I'd like to talk about two other ones that are a little more, even more difficult to wrap your mind around. And that's the dome of your soft palate. So if you just lift the back of your tongue up to the roof of your mouth, you might be able to feel that there's a place where there's the hard palate and then the soft palate behind that. And at the end of that soft palate, there's the little uvula, the thing that dangles down. So that's one dome, and the back side of that dome is open so that we can breathe through the nose. So the fourth dome is the dome of the head. So we're going to challenge you now, and I'd like you to think about aligning the center of the dome of your head, your uvula, and your pelvic floor, which is way the heck down here. So just maybe lift through the dome of your calvarium, which is your skull. Lift up, and then see if you can find a relationship between that and your uvula. You have to stretch your imagination here. And then rock on your feet forward and back, and see if you can get a sense of aligning the dome of your head, your uvula, over your pelvic floor. And then, just to make it even more interesting, bring your awareness to your feet and feel the domes of your arches of your feet. And can you find some sort of alignment between the arches of the feet, the dome of your pelvic floor, the dome of your breathing diaphragm, the uvula, and the crown of the head? And then soften into the knees and really plant through those foot triangles, those bony points of contact on your feet. And with this softness in your knees, lift up through the crown of the head, maintaining that alignment. And get a sense of yourself here. Do you feel that combination of stability of the earth and lift up through the crown? So let's bend the knees even more, and we'll just take a moment to bring earth energy up into ourselves. So the first brocade, scooping earth energy up through wide fingers. Really feel that you're reaching down into the earth and pulling up earth energy into yourself. Up around the heart, interlace the fingers, around the forehead, flip the palms, and as you root down through the feet, lift up through the palms. And then release the fingers and let widely spaced fingers comb through your energetic field. And then let's do that again, and this time we'll pull that earth energy up and turn the heart a little bit to the left. And then keep going through the movements. And again, widely spaced fingers, really strong fingers, but soft arms, soft shoulders. And coming back to center, take a moment. And then once more, rooting down. Send roots, big tap roots down into the earth, scooping up that earth energy, and turn to the other side. Flip the palms, really root up, reach up, and then softly comb through that energetic field. You can even visualize ripples through that energetic bubble. And then come back to center and just get a sense of yourself. How do you feel now? Is there any shift in a sense of yourself energetically? And what about a sense of lift? So we've been working with the sumo stance lately. So we're going to come into a wider stance from hip width apart. We're going to turn the feet outwards and then align the heels a little wider. And we're going to sink down. So don't necessarily get very far here, and I could probably come and pretty easily push you over. But what if we really bend and open up the pelvic floor by reaching the sitting bones back behind us? And can't you just feel like my arms just want to do this? I just feel so strongly rooted. So you're trying to touch that back wall with your sitting bones. Can you feel how you're pelvic floor is open. And then let's scoop up that earth energy, pull it up. Feel the sitting bones coming together. The pelvic floor is lifting. The diaphragm is lifting. And then lift up through the crown of the head. Align all of those domes, strong domes. And then float the arms down. Find feeling of softness. Elbows, knees, everywhere. Receive that energy. So let's do that again, coming into the sumo squat. And when we're down and your rear end is sticking way out, can we activate the arches of the feet by lifting the toes up? And then scoop up, really reach and pull like it's thick toffee. And as your hands go past the pelvic floor, lift the pelvic floor all the way up. Feel strong, a strong connection. And then softly let the fingers drift down, even wave the fingers, let the toes come down. And one more now, so I'm feeling that pelvic floor. The sitting bones are swinging open, the pelvic floor is broadening. And then scoop earth energy up, pull it up, past the pelvic floor, lift it up, 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 all the way up. So it's a little less intensity, just more energy. And allow yourself to softly come back. Come back to your standing stance, the equal standing, and just take a moment. Notice how you feel. That internal feeling. And then how would it feel to let the essence of a smile play around your lips? And hold that idea. We'll just shake out the fingers, the toes, let everything go. And we'll take the Chinese drum and just let any residual tension stream away out of the fingers, out into space. You can really sense now this feeling of stability that you've tuned into. And then the resiliency of yourself moving around your center. Always coming back to center. And then we'll find our feet once again. So when we walk, the feet are such an important aspect of that. That's that first interface between our body and the earth. So let's work with loosening the ankles and the lower legs. I think we did this last week. So step the left foot forward and leave the right foot behind. Soften the knees a little bit. Nice erect crown. And we're going to pandiculate the ankles and the lower legs by lifting the left forefoot up. See that the big toe mound and the pinky toe mound are being equally lifted. You can feel the back of the leg lengthening, and now lift the kneecap and activate the front of the leg. Broaden the toes, and then come down, ball of the foot first. The toes really spread out, then let your toes come down. Soften into that leg, and then the back leg. So we're going to press into the ball of the foot, lift the heel up. Now the front of the leg is lengthening, the back of the leg, the calf is contracting. Contract your glute, so squeeze the glute. Really feel that. And then soften the heel down. Feel your legs now. So now, when we're walking, we're meant to have the upper body move to give us that sense of spring, forward drive. So with this left foot forward, let's reach the right arm forward and the left arm back. And then let's lift the front heel up, the toes pull back, And then lower the foot down, switch the arms as you come onto that back, ball of the foot, activate the glute, reach forward and back, and then just find your pace here, forward and back. Moving with the breath. Can you wrap your mind around all the elements here? And then kind of let it go, and then just find that rhythmic walking. Still, can you feel the activation in the legs and in the feet? And bring the awareness to your heart. And if there was a light shining out of the heart, would it be like a beacon going back and forth in front of you? Or just straight ahead, down or up? Where is it? Is it leading? Where is it leading? Your heart leading you? And then let's let that go. Come to stand once again and get another sense. Oh, I just found the sunbeam. Oh, that feels nice. Boy, I feel all energetic. And then let's do the same for the other side. So first let's lift that front foot forward, up, the forefoot up. Separate the toes, activate the front of the leg, lift the kneecap up. Spread the ball of the foot wide. Bring the ball of the foot down first and then the toes. And then lift the heel up, activate the calf, hamstring, and the glute. There's your power. And then slowly lower down. Let's add the arms so the right foot lifts up, the left arm comes forward. See if you can still find the activation through the feet, the legs, the arms. And as we move our arms, can you notice that the shoulder blades are moving as well? Is the rib cage moving? Does it move? Do you feel like you're moving differently on one side as compared to the other? Let that go. And where's that heart light leading you? Take another moment to pause and feel. Particularly look for any feelings of lightness, internal lift, maybe effervescence. And where's that internal smile? Soften in the knees. You're going to inhale the arms up. Exhale them down. At the inhalation, bring lift. Exhalation into stability. One more. And then let the knees soften, the arms just drip down towards the earth, the head drip down. And let that oxygenated blood nourish the brain. It works hard for you in this particular type of practice. And then let's come all the way down to the ground from here. So coming down onto hands and knees. And we'll come to lie all the way down onto the back. Can you make your way down with minimal effort? Going down is easier than up, I think. And then take a moment to arrive, this time on the ground. Lying down, feel your head on the floor. Do you need any support under your head to feel comfortable? You can let your head roll side to side a little bit, just to get that sense now of the support of your head by the earth. And can you relax your jaw so that your jaw also moves as your head moves? Eyelids are soft. The corners of the mouth are soft. And then come to a place of relative stillness. But even as your body becomes a little more still, you still get that little echo of movement within yourself. And notice how you feel. Do you like this position of lying on the earth? Is it comfortable for you? And then imagine that your body weight is creating an impression in soft sand or a thick yoga mat. And if you could be magically lifted up and away from the floor, what would that impression left by your body look like? Would it be symmetrical? So feel the heels on the floor, the backs of the legs, the backs of the pelvis. And now take a moment to just notice, is one side different from the other side? Heavier or lighter? Higher or lower? And then take a moment to activate both of your glutes, the gluteal muscles. So really squeeze them. And does the right side feel different from the left side? Pelvis higher or lower on one side as compared to the other? And then slowly release that muscular effort and relax your glutes. So do you feel like you have a clear impression and control over those gluteal muscles? They're back there, hard for us to see unless we make the effort with a mirror, but can you really get a sense of how they feel? Do they feel under our conscious control? Are they equally strong on both sides, or is one side different from the other? And relax. And what is that like? What's the quality of the release like? Easy, smooth, symmetrical? If one side feels stronger than the other side, then engage just that side. And I know that can be a challenge, just to engage one side. And then slowly relax that. And take that experience, the sensations and the feelings, to the other side and do the other side. And if you're lucky enough to feel symmetrical, it doesn't matter, you can just do one side and then the other. And relax. And then let's alternate sides. The right side, let it go. Left side, let it go. Again, the other side, let it go. And back to the first side, let it go. So when we're out walking, this is meant to be happening. As we push off with the back foot, it's meant to activate the glute to give us that power. So is it different from one side to another? And then let's bring the awareness to this shoulder girdle and feel the shoulder blades resting on the floor. And is it similar in how they're resting on the floor? Do you feel like you're turning one to one side or another? And then press one shoulder into the floor, one shoulder blade into the floor. And then let it go slowly. And then the other side. Let it go. And do they feel like are they able to move symmetrically Do you have that clear feeling of being able to create an impression with one shoulder blade into the floor and then the other one? Or does one feel different from the other? Because just like if one glute is not as strong or as responsive as the other side, same thing with the shoulder girdle. If you don't have that ability to move with symmetry and resiliency through your shoulder girdle, it's going to affect your gait. And then press both shoulders into the floor and relax. Gently press the back of the head into the floor. Just feel the muscles activate in the back of the neck. And then relax. And then just let the head roll side to side. So most of us don't have the perfect posture. We're either have our head forward posture, or else the head is pulled back too strongly so that the muscles are either in the back of the neck overtired, weak, or over engaged and also weak. So we want strong resiliency in our neck muscles. So let's just do that once more. Pressing the head just a little bit into the floor, you'll feel the neck muscles for the base of the head down activate, and then slowly ease that off, and then let the head roll. Just imagine any tension at the base of the head, which so many of us carry there, just let it dissipate. And then let's let that go, bring the awareness to the feet. We'll roll the legs in and out a couple of times. Just feel that spiraling action. The legs, and this is our fascial tissue that is moving up our legs in a spiral. And the fascia, the connective tissue of the fascia, is what gives us this sense of lift and elastic sort of spring in our step. So wake that up. When we move our fascia, that's when it becomes hydrated and springy. And then let's pinky toe slide 1 foot up at a time to stand the feet on the floor, to come to constructive rest position. So we have our stability that comes from the little muscles that attach our vertebrae one to the next, above and below. So let's just have a sense of feeling those muscles on the vertebrae, alongside the back of the vertebrae. So we're going to inhale into the belly. On the exhalation, flatten the belly and let the low back flatten into the floor very gently. And then inhale, and at the level of the waistline, gently arch the low back away from the floor. The belly is soft and expansive. And then exhale and flatten the belly in towards the spine and let the low back flatten or lengthen into the floor. So let's move into this arch and flatten in a very mindful way at first as we arch and flatten through our somatic center. Sometimes we come on a little bit too strongly. So can you find this feeling of waking up those muscles that connect our vertebrae without alarming them? No need to grip. Just see if you can find that ripple of movement to hydrate the tissues. And the next time you're out for a nice walk, see if you can feel this type of movement coming up from the pelvis, up the spine, this soft undulating movement of the spine that helps to drive us forward. And as we wake up those muscles on the back side of the body, you might appreciate that on the front side of the spine, those muscles are also having an opportunity to move, to be lengthened as we arch the low back away from the floor, and then to be condensed as we flatten the low back into the floor. And can you feel that rolling motion down the center of the pelvis as you arch and flatten? And then slowly let that go. So let's have a little conversation with our psoas muscles at the front of the low back, the lumbar vertebrae. So just an inch or two, can you float one foot up and away from the floor? Just a little bit. And can you feel your belly drawing inwards? Can you feel there's some sort of contraction deep inside yourself? And then lower the foot down. So just a tiny amount. And then the other foot. And lower it down. And just go back and forth between the 2 feet. And can you sense that as you lift one foot and lower it down, it's also creating this undulating movement in the spine. And I'd like you now to just pause and pick up one foot slightly. And can you pick that foot up without pressing into the other foot? And then lower it down. So just float the other foot up now. Just float it up. And can you do it without pushing into the other foot? In other words, can you use your psoas muscles to pick up your leg? And when you do that, does one side feel different than the other? Do you feel more connected? Does it feel one side feel stronger? Does one side move better? Do you feel like you need to use your other foot to push off to lift up the foot? And then let that go and take a nice deep breath into the belly. Imagine you could breathe into the psoas muscles and gently inflate them on either side of the spine, and then a nice long exhalation out through the nose, and just let go of all tension. You can just think about this movement as you work with your psoas muscles as playtime. The psoas muscles are very sensitive to our mental state. First line of defense for our nervous system, our sympathetic nervous system. And it's a very simple practice, but really a very profound practice in waking up to hydrate these very important stabilizing muscles. I once talked to a surgeon when we were talking about every time I'd go to do some OR work with this particular surgeon who was a yogic practitioner. He would tell me about things he finds internally. And he said that the number of psoas muscles that he encounters that are just dried up, he says it's so alarming. So motion is lotion. That's how we hydrate our muscles. And if you feel disconnected from your psoas, such an easy practice. So let's bring the feet together and take the arms apart so that your arms are at T position. Knees are pointed up to the ceiling, and then just get that nice rocking and rolling feeling that goes across the back of the pelvis as you let your legs sway. So at first, have this feel like a massage for your glutes. They're back there. Most of the time, we're only concerned about how they look in our pants. So can you just get a sense of how do they feel? Is one side different from the other as you massage across the back of the pelvis? Does one side feel maybe ropey as compared to the other? And if your head is moving, can you just bring your head to the center and just have your nose point up to the ceiling? Make it a smaller rolling motion from side to side so that you're really only going to the inside of one sitting bone to the other. So it's a small movement. And can you feel like this is what's happening when you're walking? Because our head stays relatively still as we're walking. Our head stays still, but the eyes are moving. And then let that go, and let's take the hands to behind the head, and we'll just do a little arch and flatten to dissipate any tension that might be carried in the upper abdominal muscles. So you can have your feet standing or extended along the floor, whatever feels best for you. And we're going to inhale into the belly, arch the low back away from the floor. Exhale, flatten the belly, swing the elbows towards one another, float the head up just to feel the upper abdominal muscles activate, and then slowly lower down, a slow release of that, and let your head come down and the elbows fall open. So remember that we are most aware of the superficial muscles, but see if you can deep dive down to the level of your spine as well. So inhale, arch. Feel how the upper end of the psoas is lengthening. Exhale, flatten and curl up. And now the upper end of the psoas is shortening. And the superficial muscles as well. And then slowly, slowly release. Just do that a couple more times, maybe less effort and more sense of what's happening. Can you feel that whole upper abdominal region, but also can you notice, does one side feel different from the other? And if it does, use the stronger side to inform the other side. And can you find that feeling of resiliency of the spine rolling and moving? And when you're ready, you can just let that go, and we'll let the legs fall over towards one side to come to lie on the back. On the side. So come to seed pose. And again, from this quiet place with the inner gaze down about the level of the heart, just take a moment to notice how you feel. Let your brain relax. And then bring the awareness to your rib cage and get a sense of breathing into the rib cage. So the side that's down against the floor will be constrained in its ability to move as fully as usual, but the upper side will really be able to open. Maybe sense the ribs opening like Venetian blinds, and then on the exhalation, closing. So with every breath that you take, can you feel that you're inviting some resiliency into the tissues around your rib cage? Without having to know about the musculature of your upper body, just know that you have these huge muscles spanning the back of your armpit down to the center of your spine, just about the level where the psoas begins for your lower body. You have these big sheets of muscles that are wrapping around the back side of your body. And a lot of us carry tension there. And what happens if the muscles there are tense? You're not going to have ability to release and move through the rib cage. So let's bring the two palms one on top of another, and we'll just do some palm sliding. Actually, take the top hand and place it just on your lower front ribs, of the top lower ribs. And we're just going to let the head come along for the ride, but just see if you can roll the rib cage like a barrel, rolling the front of the rib cage towards the floor, and you sense where your hand is relative to the floor, and then back to where you started, and then let the rib cage open. The knees are staying together. It's the upper body that's moving. So just rolling forward and back with that hand that just stays on the lower front ribs. So you can really get a sense of how much that rib cage is able to go forward and back. And then let's bring the two palms one on top of another, and we'll do the palm slide. So as you roll your rib cage forward, let that top palm slide forward, and that's the shoulder blade coming along now to give you a bigger sense of reach. And then slide the hand up the arm across the chest to rest at the top shoulder, and allow your rib cage to roll open without dropping the elbow too far below your shoulder joint, and then forward and back. So you just get a sense of the palm sliding and the reach of the shoulder blade, and then the palm sliding back. So the knees stay together. The pelvis is relatively quiet, so we can really get a sense of the movement that we have there. So the next time that hand, that top hand, is resting on the top shoulder, pause there with the elbow projecting back behind you and look towards that elbow and get a sense. It's not dropping below the level of the shoulder. It's not stretching into the shoulder joint. It's just giving you an idea of how far your rib cage is able to open. Can you give yourself an angle? 45 degrees, 30 degrees, see what it's like, and then come back to rest palm on palm. So this next movement, it's kind of a half sit-up, and the intention of this movement is to release any residual tension in the lower trapezius muscles that span the back of the armpit, but also the serratus muscles, which kind of wrap around the outside edge of the rib cage. If you have tension in either one of those two complexes of muscles, it can really affect that easy, free rotation of the rib cage. So we're going to slide the palm across the top of the body so that that top hand is resting on the top shoulder. Allow your rib cage to open. So just keep that hand there and take the other hand behind your head. Turn your face towards the ceiling and position your face so that it's, I was going to say parallel to the ceiling, but parallel to the floor. And we're going to do a little half sit-up here. So we're going to lift the face up and away from the floor. Keep looking up rather than down as you sit up. And maybe you can feel the muscles under your arms activate, under that top arm, and then release. If you like, you can take that top hand and place it under your armpit so that you can feel the muscles underneath the armpit. And do that again. So taking a breath, and on the exhalation, lift the face straight up and away from the floor. Activate those muscles underneath the armpit. And then slowly lower down and relax. Maybe 3 times without straining. Lift the face straight up and away from the floor, not looking down towards your body, up, up. Make those muscles work, and then release. And now slide that top hand across to the other palm. which you can stretch that out, and we'll do another few of these palm slide movements. And can you sense any difference in your ability to move? If you carry a lot of tension in those muscles at the back of the armpit and under the armpit, you may find that you have way more ability to move your rib cage. So if that is the case for you, celebrate that, because that's a tremendous thing to know how to release. So take a moment just to slide that top hand across the chest to rest on the top shoulder. With the knees bent up, see if you can release the top shoulder blade a little closer to the floor. And can you sense, is there more of an ability to move through the rib cages compared to the first time? And then come back, palm on palm. Relax and let go of efforts. This ability to move our rib cage is a movement that we tend to lose as we get older and more kind of entrenched into our daily habits, especially if we do a lot of sitting, as most of us do. It also, losing this ability to move the rib cage freely and liberally affects our walking, but also our ability to drive, to shoulder check. So it's a wonderful skill to be building on. So with that top hand resting on the floor, let's stretch the top leg out towards the bottom of the mat and see if you can bring your foot back so that your foot is in line with your pelvic floor. Think about the arch of your foot and your pelvic floor. And then float that leg up and away from the floor so that you feel the outside edge of your leg activating, and then slowly let the foot come down. So always within your comfort zone. Let's do that again. Floating the leg up, you'll feel the outside seam of your leg activate. That's what gives you stability when you're walking. And then slowly, slowly lower it down. What's the quality of that movement? How does it feel? And now let's float the foot up just to about hip height. And then reach that leg back behind you as you let your pelvis roll forward a little bit at the top. Reach out through the ball of the foot, activate the glute behind you, and then bring your 2 feet and your two knees to rest one on top of another. Slide your instep up the inside seam of your lower leg. Knee comes up closer towards your elbow. Keep the leg parallel to the floor. And then slide it back down, reach down and back behind you. Just like you're taking this leg for a walk. Reach back behind you, activate the glute, reach out through the ball of the foot, let the pelvis roll forward, the chest roll forward a little. And then go back, knee on knee, foot on foot. Knee comes up towards the elbow. And if you like, you can straighten out that top leg and reach out through the heel. And down and back behind you. It's almost like a cycling movement, but if you think about this as you're just taking this top leg for a walk, bending the knee up, and then straightening that leg out and reaching out through the heel. And then let's let that go. Come to lie on your back. Come to a place of stillness, relative stillness. We're never entirely still. So after all those complicated maneuvers, just see if you can let everything go. Let the mind be still. your experience spacious. And can you get a sense of yourself from within? Does one side of the body feel different? So hopefully one side, the side you were working, hopefully it feels more spacious, more energized, more liberated. But what if it doesn't? What if it feels more tender? Then please reel back your efforts. We're creatures of habit, and that even extends to the way that we approach our movement practices and our expectations of ourselves. So let's pinky toe slide the feet up, one at a time. Let's just take a little arch and flatten while we're in the neighborhood to bookend the practices. Arch the low back away from the floor. Exhale and flatten. Just a few times. And can you invite your head to nod as you arch and flatten at the level of your somatic center? Because as we walk, our head does nod. So find that feeling of resiliency right at your center. And then whenever you're ready, you can roll over onto the other side. So where does your mind go as you arrive into this position? And you just bring it to rest in the center of your heart, place of quiet. And then very gradually, as you've arrived, bring the awareness to your rib cage. Begin to deepen the breath. Get a sense of expanding this side of the rib cage. Broaden the rib cage with every inhalation. Find that elastic quality of the ribs, especially these lower ribs, the muscles between the ribs, your lungs. So even with most of the body being very still, you're still with, if you breathe deeply, you're hydrating your tissues. And as you breathe deeply, can you sense that there's still some subtle undulating movement of the spine? And then let's bring that top hand to the lower front ribs, and we'll just explore your ability to move your rib cage, to roll the rib cage like a barrel on this side, because it's not necessarily going to be the same on one side as compared to the other. So with the hand resting on the front of the ribs, you can kind of get a sense of how much roll your rib cage has by just imagining where the elbow is tracing. And if you're not letting your elbow fall below the level of your shoulder joint, you can get a pretty good sense of how much movement your rib cage has on this side. So it might well be quite different, one side compared to the other, because we tend to have a dominant side, which is stronger and less resilient usually, unless we work at it. So when you get a sense of how much movement you have on this side, then bring your two palms one on top of another, and then add your palm slide. So as your palm slides, let your rib cage and head roll, and then add the reach of your shoulder blade as you reach your hand forward. And then as you roll back, let the movement come from the rib cage. If you can, let the hand follow along, sliding up and across your chest, and the head rolls. So see if you can initiate the movement from the rib cage, rather than as we usually initiate the movement through our sliding of the palm. And if you feel some resistance or tenderness, just notice that and then back away from it a little bit. Use the breath to invite this extra fluidity into this part of the body. And then next time your hand is on that top shoulder and you've opened up your chest towards the ceiling, get a sense of how much rotation you have in this position. The knees are glued together, so the movement is all from the waist up. Get a sense of where that elbow is in space, and we'll come and do that half sit-up. So rest that top hand on the top shoulder. The other hand comes behind the head. Face is parallel to the floor, and we'll do that little bit of a sit-up. Take your breath, and on the exhalation, lift the nose up. Can you feel the muscles that are lifting your shoulders and head away from the floor? And then slowly lower down. So if you let your chin come down towards your chest, then the neck is participating, but we're really trying to isolate these upper chest muscles. So lifting up, feel the muscles activate, and you can even activate them a little more if you like, and then slowly lower down. Maybe a few times so you can really get a sense of which muscles are working here for you. You can let that top hand come to under the armpit, and as you lift up, can you feel how those serratus muscles and those lower trapezius muscles at the back of the armpit are lifting you up, or pendiculating them? And then down. And then see if you can relax your chest open a little more towards the floor. Do you have a little more ability to rotate? You may or you may not. And then do your palm slides and see if you can really invite this rotational movement to come through the chest, but be expressed out through the arms as you would like to when you're out for a walk. So if you watch people walking and you see them pumping their arms, is it because that movement isn't available to them from their center and expressed out through the rib cage and then finally through the hands? Where is the movement coming from? And whenever you feel satisfied with this exploration, come back to lie on your side. And we'll extend that top leg straight down towards the base of the mat in line with your sitting bones. And we'll float that leg up and away from the floor. Explore your range of motion here. Feel the muscles that are working for you. Stabilizing muscles, and then slowly, slowly lower down. So on the upper leg, a lot of the tissues are fascial tissues, so we need to move them in different ways. This is a good way to move them. And it's also your pelvic stabilizing muscles that are helping to lift your leg. Can you feel those in your pelvis? So every movement that you make that you can detect something happening, there's a change happening, some hydration, some resiliency coming in. And then let's take that into a walking sort of a movement. So reaching that leg back, reaching out through the ball of the foot, even stretching the toes apart, engage your glute, roll the pelvis forward a bit, And then swing that leg forward, the foot and the knee come one on top of another. Bend the knee up towards your elbow direction. You can straighten out that leg and reach out through the heel if you like. Reach it forward like you're going for a walk. And then down and back. See if you can add a little swing with the pelvis, just as you would when you were walking. So bend the knee and then straighten the knee, reach out through the heel, lengthen the back of the leg, and back and forth. And are you allowing your rib cage to participate in this movement as well? So as the leg goes back, the rib cage rolls forward, and as the leg reaches forward, the rib cage rolls back. And then let that go slowly. Take a moment here just to let this movement continue on in your mind's eye. So even if you're not able to do many of these movements in a really refined way, you can imagine doing them beautifully. This is how dancers refine their ability to move with fluidity and grace. And then let's roll over onto the back. We'll take a moment in Soma Scan here. And how do you feel now resting on the floor? Does one side feel different as compared to the other? Do you feel like your two sides are more integrated? And then let's pinky toe slide the feet up. And just I'm going to do a little bit of cross-lateral reinforcement with cross-lateral arch and curl. So take the right hand up behind the head to support the head. The left hand rests on the left knee, which is floating above your hip. And luxuriously arch the low back away from the floor. On the exhalation, flatten the belly, flatten the low back, curl up and across, bringing your elbow closer to your knee, knee closer to your elbow, and then lower down the head and the elbow, and the foot comes down to the floor. Let's just do a few more. Inhale, arch. Exhale, flatten and curl up and across. Feel that connection. And then slowly, slowly down. And again, inhale, arch. Exhale, and curl up and across. Think about bringing the armpit and the groin closer together. Find that connection. And then slowly, slowly lower down. Let the foot land, the head and the elbow land. And then reach that leg, the left leg, out along the floor and feel that sense of length across that diagonal from elbow tip to big toe tip. Take a couple of breaths into that. And then pinky toe slide that left leg up, and we'll switch sides. We'll do the same on the other side. Letting your left hand behind the head, the right hand rest on the knee. Arch the low back away from the floor, and then exhale, flatten and curl up and across. Let the eyes be soft and the movement be easy. Let's do a few more if that's available to you. I won't talk you through it. Just feel that contraction, that shortening of that diagonal line, and then it's letting go. And when you've done your number of repetitions so that you feel equalized on both sides, take a moment to come back to rest, extending that leg out along the floor so you sense that long diagonal. And then we'll just do another movement to release tension in the front of the leg. We did that back sweep as we were lying on the side to release tension in the glutes and the hamstrings. But we need to also have the ability to release tension in the front of the legs. So let the right knee be bent with the foot standing on the floor. The arms are down along your sides. And I'd like you to think about that one foot standing on the floor. So the right foot standing on the floor, left leg is reaching long along the floor. Now stand into the right foot to lift the right side of the pelvis up and away from the floor, and see if you can move the knee straight forward over your right foot. So you're lengthening through the thigh, and then lower the pelvis down and relax. So I'd like you to sense from your right knee up to your hip and maybe up into your somatic center that there's a lengthening. So stand into the right foot, lift the right hemipelvis up and away from the floor, feel that lengthening through the thigh and into the belly, and then slowly lower down. If you like, you can do it again. And does your head want to join in? Is there some tension that you can let go of in the head? Let it roll. And then slowly lower down. Extend that leg along the floor. Take a moment to feel the two legs. And then we'll bend up the other leg and do the same movement. So it's just as if you were taking a step forward, that leg extends long, reaches long. So lift up that side of the pelvis. The knee tracks straight over that left foot. Nice yawn-like sensation up towards the center, and lower it down. So can you imagine as you're walking and you swing your leg forward, that leg, the front of the leg and into your center is so liberated that it just feels like a lengthening, a yawning open, a reaching forward. So just do as many as you like to really get a sense of that length. Nice and easy. And then stand both feet up on the floor. And we'll just let the legs swing easily from side to side. And the head roll side to side. And then we'll hug the knees in towards the chest, reach the soles of the feet up towards the ceiling, reach through the heels, circle the ankles around, take some movement, anything that appeals to you. And before we leave our movement practice, is there anywhere within yourself that you're holding tension, that you can find a way to just let some of that go, either through motion, some sort of movement, specific movement, or breath, or a little self-talk? And then bring your feet back down to earth if they're not there already. And we'll just take 5 minutes of deep relaxation. So our bodies do tend to cool off even with this small movement. So it's nice to have a blanket or a shawl that you can bring. And choose a position that feels good for you. And then let go of all effort. Take any final movements that you might need so that you can completely let go of any inclination to move your body. And then check into your mind. And if your mind is busy, just invite it to have a little rest. All the thoughts can be there for you if you want. In a moment or two, just let them go for now. Let the forehead become smooth and the temples hollow. And find that internal smile that changes everything. Just hanging on to this feeling for another moment or two as you deepen the breath. Even as you anticipate coming back into your day, can you hold on to this feeling? And as you're ready, begin to invite movements to the body, subtle movements. Not letting go of the feeling. Until come back with your feet standing on the floor. Without rushing to roll onto your side. Coming up to seated. And from this seated position, let's stand our feet on the floor with the knees apart. And we'll just take a few little rolling motions over our sitting bones kind of cat-cow movements. Reach the belly forward and pull it back. Nice massage for the sitting bones. And then let's come on to hands and knees, and then up to standing, however feel in a way that feels easy for you. And we'll take a little Chinese drum just to get all of that resiliency and springiness moving around. So if possible, can you go for a walk today and try to find all of that, all of those elements? So thank you very much for coming, for your attention. Namaste. Have a wonderful week. And if you need to miss a Wednesday at any time, know that you can come on a Saturday to make up the class. It's a slightly different class. It's yin, so it's a little more restorative in nature. Balance between the yoga, the yin yoga positions, which are stillness, with the somatics. But just let me know you're coming, if that's the case, sure.
It's also awesome.
Oh, good.